A black single mother woke up to find the CEO making breakfast. What he said left her speechless. "You shouldn't be here." The word slipped out of David Mitchell's mouth before he could fully understand what was happening. He was the CEO of Mitchell Corp., one of the biggest technology companies in the country. Yet there he stood, inside the kitchen of a small apartment in a working-class neighborhood, holding a cup of coffee as if this strange situation were completely normal. Camila Santos, 28, a single mother to a 6-year-old girl, blinked again and again, unsure if she was still dreaming. For 3 years, she had worked as a cleaner in the Mitchell Corp building. She always worked early mornings. She was always unnoticed. And now, without any explanation, the most powerful man in the company was standing in her kitchen. "How? How did you get in here?" she whispered, pulling her robe tighter around herself. David stared at her, looking confused and deeply shaken. His expensive clothes were wrinkled. A small cut marked his forehead. His eyes looked lost, like someone who had just woken up from a bad dream. "I don't know," he said quietly, placing the coffee cup in the sink. His hands were shaking. "The last thing I remember is leaving the office last night after a tense meeting with the board. After that, nothing. I woke up here, and you were sleeping on the couch." Camila felt her blood turn cold. She had slept on the couch because her daughter Isabella had nightmares and was sleeping in her bed. And now, a stranger, even the CEO of the company she worked for, had spent the night in her home without her knowing how or why. "My daughter," she started, rushing toward the bedroom. "She's fine," David said quickly. "I checked when I woke up. She's sleeping peacefully. I didn't disturb her." "Huh, I swear." Camila stopped in the middle of the hallway, her thoughts spinning fast. Something about this whole situation felt very wrong. David Mitchell was not just any CEO. He was known for being arrogant, for treating employees like numbers, especially people in lower positions such as cleaners and security guards. She had heard him many times during her night shifts. She had overheard his office conversations. He talked about people having no ambition. He complained that welfare culture made people lazy. She once heard him laugh about an employee who missed work because her child was sick, saying that people like that always had excuses. And now, that same man was standing inside her home, looking confused and vulnerable. "Listen," David said, running a hand through his messy hair. "I know this sounds strange, but I need your help. I can't remember how I got here, and there's something about last night, something important I'm forgetting." Camila watched him closely. His voice sounded honest, but there was something else too, urgency. It didn't match the cold, arrogant man she knew from the office. "Why would I help you?" she asked, crossing her arms. "You don't even know my name, do you? 3 years cleaning your offices, and I bet you never even noticed me." David hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. "I do," he said. "You work in the building. Early shift. Cleaning. Invisible to people like me." His expression changed slightly. Something flickered in his eyes, recognition, or maybe guilt. But before he could say anything else, Camila's phone rang. An unknown number. "Hello, Camila Santos." The voice on the other end was cold and professional. "This is Rebecca Mitchell from Mitchell Corporation. We need to talk about what happened last night." Camila's heart began to race. Rebecca Mitchell, David's younger sister, the vice president of the company, known for being even more ruthless than her brother when it came to protecting the family's interests. "I don't know what you're talking about," Camila replied, staring straight at David, who had completely frozen. "My day, we know exactly where my brother spent the night," Rebecca said smoothly, "and we also know that an opportunistic cleaning lady like you might see this as a perfect chance to blackmail our family." The word struck Camila like a slap. There it was, the open, ugly prejudice she faced every day, now made worse by the impossible situation she was trapped in. David reached toward the phone, trying to take it from her, but Camila ignored him. "Listen carefully, Rebecca," she said, her voice steady in a way that surprised even herself. "I don't know why your brother was here, but I am not an opportunist, and I am not a blackmailer." "Of course not," Rebecca replied with a cold laugh. "That's why I'm making you an offer. $5,000 to forget this ever happened. That's more money than someone like you sees in a year." A familiar anger burned in Camila's chest, the same anger she felt every time she was treated as less than human because of her skin color or her financial situation. "Someone like me," Camila repeated slowly. "You understand perfectly," Rebecca said. "Take the money and sign a confidentiality agreement, or we will find ways to make your life very difficult." David was waving his hands wildly, clearly trying to stop his sister from speaking, but Camila had already heard enough. What Rebecca didn't know was that Camila had grown up in a world where survival meant outsmarting people who tried to walk all over her. She had earned a business degree while working 3 jobs and had raised a daughter on her own since she was 16. She had learned to recognize opportunities where others saw only problems. At that moment, as she looked at David Mitchell, powerful, lost, and clearly hiding something important, Camila realized the universe had placed something far more valuable than $5,000 in her hands. "Rebecca," she said calmly, "thank you for the offer, but I don't think you understand the situation as well as you believe you do." The line went silent. "I'm being kind," Rebecca finally said, her voice filled with threat. "But my kindness has an expiration date." Camila ended the call and turned to David. He was staring at her with a mix of admiration and fear. What neither of them knew was that this call had been Rebecca Mitchell's first fatal mistake. And what Camila kept hidden was that her seeming vulnerability covered a sharp strategic mind, shaped by years of quiet injustice. David stood there, clearly torn between loyalty to his family and something his memory still could not reach. At the same time, Camila made a choice that would change everything. If they wanted to play a game of power and prejudice, she would show them that she knew the rules better than they ever imagined. If this story of injustice and determination has moved you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Because what you don't know yet is that the real battle was only beginning, and Camila Santos was about to teach the Mitchell family a lesson they would never forget. "You don't understand who you're dealing with," David said quietly after the call ended, his voice carrying a strange mix of admiration and worry. "Rebecca doesn't usually make empty threats." Camila watched him for a moment, noticing how his hands were slightly shaking. The powerful CEO she knew from the corporate hallways seemed different now, vulnerable, almost human. "And you don't understand who your sister's dealing with either," Camila said calmly as she walked toward the window. Below, a black car had been parked outside for more than an hour. "How old do you think I am?" she asked. The question caught David off guard. "I don't know. 25? 26? 28. Do you know how many of those years I spent being invisible to people like you?" She turned to face him, her eyes burning with an intensity he hadn't seen before. "All of them. 28 years of listening to people like your sister talk about people like me as if we were broken products." David swallowed hard. There was something in her posture, the way she held his gaze, that made him feel small. Her phone rang again. This time, it was her work number. Camila Santos. The voice on the line said, "This is Mr. Peterson, the night supervisor. I need to inform you that your employment has been terminated due to disciplinary issues. Your personal belongings will be mailed to you." Camila closed her eyes for a brief moment. 3 years of work, she said quietly, erased by a 30-second phone call. "Disciplinary issues," she repeated slowly. "Interesting. And what exactly were those issues?" "That information is confidential. You'll receive the documents in a few days." David waved his hands urgently, clearly trying to show that he had nothing to do with this. But Camila already understood what was happening. "Mr. Peterson, one quick question," she said calmly. "Who called you and instructed you to fire me for disciplinary reasons?" Silence filled the line. "It was someone from Mitchell Corp, wasn't it?" Camila continued. "Maybe Rebecca Mitchell herself." I can't confirm details about that." "Thank you," Camila replied. "That tells me everything I need to know." She ended the cold dot and looked at David, who had slumped heavily into a kitchen chair. "My sister's trying to isolate you," he said quietly. "Without a job, without income, you become more vulnerable to her proposal." "Vulnerable?" Camila laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. "You know what real vulnerability is, David? It's being 16 pregnant and kicked out of your home by parents who value the family's reputation over their own flesh and blood." David stared at her wide-eyed. It's working 3 jobs while studying at night, carrying a small child around because you can't afford a babysitter. It's hearing college professors say, maybe you should rethink your priorities when you miss a class because your daughter is sick. She walked over to the refrigerator where a few photos of Isabella were stuck with colorful magnets. A smiling girl with curly hair wearing a school uniform. It's graduating with honors in business administration while cleaning offices in the early hours of the morning only to find out that the corporate world would rather hire the boss's friend's son who barely finished college than a black woman and single mother, no matter how qualified she is. David remained silent, clearly uncomfortable with the raw honesty. So don't give me any of that talk about vulnerability, Camila continued, her voice gaining a strength that made the air in the kitchen seem heavier. Your sister just gave me the opportunity I've been waiting for years. She just doesn't know it yet. The phone rang a 3rd time. Camila looked at the display and smiled, a smile that David realized was completely different from the previous ones. This one had something predatory about it. Rebecca Mitchell, she answered, putting it on speakerphone. How quick you are to cut off my livelihood. Really impressive. I see you got the message, Rebecca's cold voice said. This is only the beginning, my dear. I have contacts all over the city. No cleaning company will hire you once I finish spreading information about your lack of professionalism. David motioned urgently for Camila to stop pushing her, but Camila ignored him completely. Information about my lack of professionalism. Camila repeated slowly. Interesting. And what kind of information would that be? Use your imagination, Rebecca replied. An employee who takes advantage of a compromising situation to blackmail executives. That kind of story doesn't look good in the job market. Oh, I understand, Camila said calmly. And do you have any evidence to support these claims? Rebecca laughed. Sweetheart, I don't need proof. I only need my reputation and a few well-placed words. Who do you think people will believe? A Mitchell or, well, you understand. The silence that followed felt heavy. David could hear his own heartbeat. Rebecca, Camila finally said, her voice dangerously calm. Thank you for this conversation. It's been very educational. I'm glad you see the situation clearly. The $5,000 offer still stands, but only until it's officially declined. Of course, Camila replied. Then you've chosen the hard path. What a shame, Rebecca said. I believe your daughter's name is Isabella, isn't it? Such a shame she'll grow up watching her mother be publicly humiliated. David jumped to his feet, waving his arms, silently begging Camila not to answer. But it was too late. You just mentioned my daughter, Camila said slowly, every word sharp and precise. That changes everything. Is that a threat? Rebecca laughed. What exactly are you going to threaten me with? What power do you have? What connections? It's not threats that concern me, Rebecca, Camila replied. It's promises. And I promise you'll remember this conversation for the rest of your life. She ended the call before Rebecca could reply. David stared at her, caught between admiration and fear. You have no idea what you just did, he said quietly. Rebecca can completely destroy your life. No, Camila corrected him as she picked up her old laptop from the living room table. She thinks she can. There's a big difference. She opened the laptop, and David noticed something he had never seen before, rows of carefully organized folders on the desktop. Their names made his stomach tighten. Corporate irregularities, recorded conversations, questionable correspondence. What is this? David asked, though part of him already knew the answer. 3 years of cleaning offices in the early mornings, Camila said as she clicked through the files. You'd be amazed at what people leave behind, on desks, in trash bins, on printers. Documents they forget to shred. Conversations they have when they think no one is listening. David felt a chill run through him. You were collecting information, he said. I was surviving, Camila corrected. And learning. She looked at him directly. Do you know the difference between people like your sister and people like me? You underestimate everyone you see as inferior, and that makes you careless. She opened one specific folder. The screen filled with dozens of audio files, scanned documents, and photographs. For example, Camila said, clicking on an audio file. Do you remember the meeting in March when the board decided to lay off 200 employees to cut costs, and on the very same day approved a $2 million bonus for the board? Rebecca's voice suddenly played through the laptop speakers. It's simple, everyone. We cut the fat at the bottom and keep the profits at the top. The media will call it necessary restructuring for a week, Rebecca's recorded voice continued, and then they'll forget about it. David's face went pale. You recorded board meetings, he said. Not all of them, Camilla replied calmly. Only the most interesting ones. Like the meeting where your sister suggested finding creative ways to avoid paying benefits to employees who were fired under false disciplinary reasons. David felt his world collapsing. He realized, too late, that he had completely underestimated the woman standing in front of him. Why didn't you ever use this before? He asked. Camilla looked straight into his eyes. Because I'm not like you. I don't destroy people for power or pleasure. She paused. But when someone threatens my daughter, I become exactly the kind of person your sister should have feared from the beginning. At that moment, Isabella appeared in the bedroom doorway, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Mommy, why are you talking so loudly? Camilla immediately closed the laptop and walked to her daughter. Sorry, sweetie. Mommy was just fixing some work problems. Did you get fired? Isabella asked, with a sharp awareness children have when something is wrong. Let's just say Mommy is going to change jobs, Camilla replied, kissing her forehead. Don't worry. Sometimes change is a good thing. Isabella glanced at David, who was trying to disappear into the kitchen chair. Is he still here? For now, yes, Camilla said. But soon he'll leave to take care of some very serious problems that suddenly appeared. David understood the message. Camila Santos was not just a cleaner who had been unfairly fired. She was a woman who had spent 3 years quietly documenting every irregularity, every compromising conversation, and every questionable decision made by Mitchell Corporation. And now, Rebecca had made the fatal mistake of turning Camila from a silent observer into an active adversary. Every new humiliation only strengthened something inside her that her oppressors could not see, a silent force fueled by the very injustices they had tried to impose. What Rebecca didn't realize was that each act of contempt was writing her own sentence of defeat. Behind Camila's calm eyes lay a sharp, strategic intelligence, honed through years of forced invisibility and quiet injustices. For a moment, when Camila had bowed her head in the face of threats over the phone, everyone had thought her spirit was broken. But those who understand true strength know that it grows in silence, waiting for the perfect moment to emerge. Patience is not weakness. It is the most powerful weapon for those who know exactly when and how to use it. You don't understand, David said, watching her close her laptop with unnerving calm. Rebecca will use all the company's power against you, lawyers, private investigators, media contacts. She can destroy your life completely. Camila smiled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. David, you still don't understand, do you? I'm not fighting your sister. I'm preparing the funeral for her career. She picked up the phone and dialed a number. Dr. Hamilton, it's Camila Santos. Yes, the time has come. David frowned. Who is Dr. Hamilton? 15 minutes. Agreed. Location and doctor bring everything. As he prepared, Camila explained without looking at him. 3 years ago, when I started working at Mitchell Corp., I met a man in the cafeteria, a labor lawyer specializing in civil rights. He had been unfairly fired from a large firm after reporting irregularities. Dr. Marcus Hamilton, David whispered, recognizing the name. He sued Sterling and Associates for racial discrimination and won $3 million. Exactly, Camila said. And since then, he's been collecting cases against companies like yours. Until now, Mitchell Corp wasn't the main target. David felt his stomach tighten. Did you plan this from the beginning? He asked. No, Camila replied honestly. At first, I just wanted to survive, raise my daughter, and maybe one day get a better job. But when you spent 3 years treating me like furniture, when Rebecca decided I was disposable, she stopped and looked straight at him. You turned an invisible employee into a very well-informed enemy. Her phone rang again. Rebecca, Camila, My dear, I hope you reconsidered our conversation, Rebecca said smoothly, because I've just uncovered some very interesting things about you. Camila put the call on speaker and signaled for David to stay quiet. What kind of things? Camila asked. Well, Rebecca continued, it seems you have a degree in business administration, yet you never listed it in your employee file. That's omission of information, ground for dismissal with cause. Interesting, Camila said calmly. And where did you get that information? I have my sources. I also discovered you had financial difficulties 2 years ago, overdue debts. That raises serious questions about your integrity. David noticed Camila's expression harden slightly. Rebecca, Camila asked, did you hire a private investigator to dig into my personal life? Necessary precautions, Rebecca replied. And if you think you can blackmail me with your evidence, understand that I can easily prove it was obtained illegally, violation of privacy, breach of corporate confidentiality. Oh, I see, Camila said coolly. So now you're accusing me of crimes. If necessary, yes. One call from me to the police about a problematic employee with access to sensitive information, and you'll be facing much bigger. But Camila ignored him. Rebecca, thank you for this conversation. It was enlightening, she said calmly. I hope it was, Rebecca replied. The $5,000 offer still stands, but only until the end of the day. After that, what? Camila interrupted. After that, you'll just be another sad story no one wants to hear. Camila hung up and immediately dialed another number. Dr. Hamilton, change your plans. Bring your contacts at the public prosecutor's office and the press. 2. Rebecca just confessed to some very interesting things. David stared at her, seeing a completely different side of Camila. Did you record the unemployment conversation? He asked. David, I've been recording everything for 3 years. It's a matter of survival. An hour later, they met with Dr. Marcus Hamilton at a discreet cafe. The man was imposing, black, around 50 years old, wearing a well-tailored suit, with a presence that commanded respect. Camila, he greeted warmly, and this must be David Mitchell. David extended his hand hesitantly. Doctor, let's get straight to the point, Dr. Hamilton said, opening a briefcase. Camila gave me some preliminary information, he continued. Systematic discrimination, wrongful termination, threats, illegal investigation of an employee's private life. That's enough for at least 3 different lawsuits. But that's just the beginning. Camila, Dr. Hamilton added, show me the executive meetings folder. She connected her laptop. They spent the next hour reviewing evidence, audio recordings, photographs, scanned documents, and even deleted email that Camila had recovered from printers and trash bins. My God, Dr. Hamilton murmured as he listened to a recording in which Rebecca discussed how to remove problematic employees by creating false disciplinary charges. This is criminal conspiracy. David looked pale. I never knew Rebecca was doing these things. But you allowed it. Camila spoke calmly. Every time you ignored her management methods. Every time you chose not to see how profits were rising while employees were quietly disappearing. Dr. Hamilton closed the folder. Camila, with this evidence, I can file lawsuits for racial discrimination, illegal retaliation, and labor rights violations, he said. We can also build a federal civil rights case. How long? Camila asked. I can file the first documents today, he replied. A temporary court order to protect you from further retaliation will be issued within 48 hours. The main case will take about 6 months to reach full resolution. David swallowed hard. 6 months if they decide to fight, Dr. Hamilton added. But with evidence like this, I suspect they'll want a large settlement long before that. Camila smiled. Dr. Hamilton, I don't want a settlement. The lawyer raised his eyebrows. No, she continued. I want this to go public. I want every employee they humiliated and every person they discriminated against to know there are consequences for this kind of behavior. This will be a war. Camila, Dr. Hamilton warned. They'll try to destroy your reputation, your life. They already have, Camila replied. The difference is that now I have allies. Dr. Hamilton smiled. Then let's go to war, and let's win. When they left the cafe, David looked shaken. "Camila, there's still time to stop this," he said. "Rebecca may be extreme, but she's still my sister." Camila stopped and looked him straight in the eyes. "Your sister threatened my daughter. She hired investigators to invade my privacy. She's trying to turn me into a criminal for holding evidence of crimes she committed herself." "I know, but there are no buts," Camila said firmly. "This is final. Rebecca chose to make this a war. I'm just going to finish what she started." That night, after Isabella had fallen asleep, Camila sat at the kitchen table with her laptop. She created a new file titled Chronology of Irregularities, Mitchell Corp 2021 to 2024. Page after page, she documented every incident, every recording, every piece of evidence, organizing 3 years of careful data into a clear and undeniable timeline. David, who had stayed on the couch at her request so he wouldn't leave until his situation was clear, watched quietly. "Can I ask you something?" he said finally. "Go ahead," Camila replied. "Why did you really do this? 3 years of collecting evidence. That's a lot of work and risk." Camila paused, typing. "Because I knew one day they would go too far. And when that happened, I wanted to be ready." "But how did you know?" David asked. "I grew up poor, black, and a single mother," she explained. "I learned early that the world isn't fair, but there's a difference between unfairness and systematic abuse. You crossed that line a long time ago." She saved the file and closed the laptop. "Tomorrow, Dr. Hamilton will file the first documents. Rebecca Mitchell will discover she's not dealing with a scared cleaning lady. She's dealing with someone who has turned 3 years of silent humiliation into solid evidence." David stayed silent, processing the weight of what was coming. "What about me?" he asked at last. Camila studied him for a long moment. "That's up to you, David. You can continue to be a silent accomplice, or you can do the right thing for the first time in years." Her phone vibrated. A message from Dr. Hamilton. "Documents ready for filing. Rebecca Mitchell has no idea what's coming." Camila smiled, but this time there was something final and decisive about that smile. It was a smile of someone who had spent 3 years quietly building a fortress while her enemies believed she was defenseless. Under the weight of years of silent injustice, her hands moved with sharp precision across the keyboard, arranging evidence like a general preparing an army. Anyone watching closely would see that revenge was not guiding her actions. It was control. The steady power of someone who had turned every humiliation into proof, into ammunition, for a war Rebecca Mitchell had started, but one that Camila Santos was about to end in a way that would change a rule forever. The next morning, Rebecca arrived at the office confident, until she saw journalists waiting at the entrance. "Miss Mitchell, is it true that your company fires employees using false disciplinary charges?" one reporter shouted. Rebecca pushed past the cameras and hurried inside. In the elevator, she snapped into her phone. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." "Actually," Camila replied calmly, "I know exactly who." Dr. Hamilton filed 3 lawsuits a day: racial discrimination, illegal retaliation, and criminal conspiracy. "That's impossible," Rebecca said sharply. "You have no evidence." "I have 3 years of recordings," Rebecca, Camila answered, "including you planning fake firings and calling black employees cultural problems." Silence filled the line. "Oh, and the press already has copies of everything." Rebecca hung up and rushed to her office. David was waiting for her, holding a folder. "I'm resigning," he said quietly, "and I'm going to testify against you." "You can't," Rebecca snapped. "Yes, I can, and I will." He gave a sad smile. "Camila taught me that integrity is worth more than blood." Rebecca opened the folder. Inside were her own resignation letter from the board, a notice of removal, and an agreement transferring her shares to a charitable trust. Signed, David said calmly, "or face prison." Her hand trembled as she picked up the pen. In that 3 years of silent humiliation had turned into the most complete and devastating defeat an arrogant person could face. Not only had Rebecca Mitchell lost everything, but she had also underestimated someone who had turned every injustice into solid evidence against her. 6 months later, Camila adjusted her new blazer as she entered the Mitchell Court building, now renamed Sterling Industries after the full merger. Director of Human Resources, she murmured, reading the sign on her new office door. David had insisted she take the position after he took full control of the company. Isabella ran down the hall. "Mom, can I come to your meeting today?" "Of course, sweetheart. Today is special." The meeting was with former employees who had been unfairly dismissed. Dr. Hamilton had helped reverse 47 cases, securing reinstatement and significant compensation. "Every person here," Camilla told the group, "represents a victory against a system that treated us as disposable." Her assistant handed her an envelope. She opened it and found a handwritten letter. "Camilla, you were right about everything. I lost my license, my friends, my dignity. I live alone in a small apartment without resources. Maybe one day you'll forgive me." Rebecca Camilla folded the letter calmly. Forgiveness was possible, but consequences were necessary. David appeared at the door. "How does it feel on your first official day?" "Fine. Strange to be on the other side of the table," she replied. "You deserve to be here," he said, smiling. "By the way, Isabella told me she wants to be a lawyer like Dr. Hamilton. She wants to defend people like us." That afternoon, Camilla visited the old cleaning floor. She greeted each employee by name, a small act of respect she had never done when she had been invisible in the same spaced-up moment. 3. "Principal," said Maria, one of the cleaners. "Thank you for everything you've done for us." "We protect each other," Camilla replied. "That's how we change the world." That evening at home, Isabella did her homework while Camilla reviewed proposals for a new scholarship program. "Mom," Isabella asked, "are you still mad at that mean woman?" Camilla paused. "No, sweetheart. Anger doesn't build anything. Justice does." "And what is justice?" Isabella asked. "It's when people like us get equal opportunities. It's when no one is invisible in them all." Isabella smiled. "How did you do it?" "I turned every injustice into evidence, every humiliation into motivation, and every no into fuel for a bigger yes." Rebecca had tried to break her spirit, but it only made her stronger. The real revenge was not to destroy her. It was to build something bigger than she could ever imagine. Today, the foundation created by Camilla has helped hundreds of families. Rebecca lives in isolation, facing the consequences of years of systematic cruelty. Camilla learned that the best response to prejudice is not hatred. It is proving that intelligence, dignity, and perseverance always win over arrogance. If this story of transformation and justice has inspired you, subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes the greatest victory is not bringing down those who hurt you. It's rising so high that they become irrelevant from your vantage point below.